Alright, let's dive into something that's been making headlines in Brisbane lately: the massive $300 million upgrade to the RNA Showgrounds. Now, on the surface, it sounds like your typical pre-Olympics infrastructure spend, right? But personally, I think there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye. This isn't just about sprucing up a venue for the 2032 Games. It's about reshaping a piece of Brisbane's cultural heritage and setting the stage for the city's future. What makes this really interesting is how the government is framing this as a legacy project. It's not just about hosting athletes for a few weeks, it's about creating something that lasts for generations. But here's the thing, when you dig deeper, you start to wonder, is this really about legacy, or is it more about optics and economic opportunity? Let's break it down. First off, the scale of this project is impressive. We are talking a 20,000-seat outdoor arena, a multi-storey horse pavilion, and major accessibility improvements. From my perspective, the accessibility upgrades are the most significant part of this. RNA CEO Brendan Christou mentioned that these pathways aren't just for Paralympic athletes, they are for everyone. And that's a big deal. Accessibility is often an afterthought in large-scale projects, but here, it seems to be front and center. What this really suggests is that Brisbane is trying to set a new standard for inclusive public spaces. But here's where it gets tricky. With a shrinking footprint, they've had to go vertical, which is innovative, sure, but also raises questions about how well this will actually work in practice. Will it feel cramped? Will it lose some of the charm of the original space? These are questions I'm really curious about. Now, let's talk about the cost. The government has been pretty tight-lipped about it until now, citing commercial in confidence. But Deputy Premier Jared Blaigie is quick to point out that it's all on budget. Personally, I'm a bit skeptical. When governments say something is on budget, it often means they are not counting everything. And let's not forget, this $287.5 million is just part of a larger $3.5 billion investment into athletes' villages. What many people don't realize is that these kinds of projects often end up costing more than initially stated. So, while it's great that they are sticking to the RNA's requested amount, I'm keeping an eye on the bigger picture. If you take a step back and think about it, this is just one piece of a much larger financial puzzle. Another detail I find fascinating is the timing of this announcement. It comes right after the release of the Victoria Park Master Plan, which includes pedestrian bridges linking the Brisbane Stadium to the CBD. It's almost like the government is trying to create a narrative of progress and connectivity. But here's the thing. These projects are being funded separately from the main $7.1 billion venue's budget. Why? It feels like they are trying to avoid sticker shock by breaking it down into smaller, more digestible chunks. In my opinion, this is a classic strategy to keep public scrutiny at bay. But it also raises a deeper question: are we getting the full story here? Or are there hidden costs that we'll only find out about later? What's also worth noting is the cultural significance of the RNA Showgrounds. The Ekka has been a Brisbane institution for 150 years, and these upgrades are supposed to ensure it continues for another 150. But as someone who's been to the Ekka, I can't help but wonder if modernizing it too much will strip away some of its charm. Yes, the horse stables are in poor condition, and yes, going vertical is a smart use of space, but will it still feel like the Ekka? Or will it become just another polished event space? This is where the tension between preservation and progress really comes into play. One thing that immediately stands out is how the government is trying to balance these two competing interests, and it's not going to be easy. Finally, let's talk about the legacy aspect again. The 2,000-unit athlete village that will be converted into housing post-games is a smart move. It addresses Brisbane's housing shortage while also ensuring the infrastructure doesn't become a white elephant. But here's the catch: will these units be affordable? Or will they become luxury apartments that only benefit a select few? This is where the rubber meets the road. If Brisbane wants this to be a true legacy project, they need to ensure it benefits the broader community, not just developers and investors. From my perspective, this is the real test of whether this project will be remembered as a success or just another missed opportunity. So, what's the takeaway here? Personally, I think this upgrade is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's a bold vision for Brisbane's future, with a focus on accessibility and innovation. On the other hand, it's a massive financial commitment with a lot of unanswered questions. As we get closer to 2032, I'll be watching closely to see how this plays out. But for now, I'm left with one big question: will this project truly leave a lasting legacy, or will it just be another footnote in Brisbane's Olympic story? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.